So now that we can view all of the current users, apart from the active one on the device, and we can follow and unfollow people, the next step is to allow our users to post photos themselves. So let's set up our storyboard to do that. So here's our main storyboard, and we want to add an option here in the users table to allow the user to jump over to the post view controller. So I'm going to add that under left bar button items. Make sure you get it in the right place. And we'll change the text to post. There we go. And next we're going to need a standard view controller. Which I'll pop just there. And we're going to want a segue from the post bar button to the new view controller. So we'll have a show segue there. And you can see the new view controller now gets a bar at the top because it's now effectively within this navigation controller, having set up that segue. Okay, so now let's set up a new file to be our new view controller.swift. So this one's going to be a subclass of UI view controller, and I'll call it the post view controller. And we'll save it inside the project as usual. And then we just need to set up this view controller to use post view controller. And we'll just set the name as well. So we'll call it post. So let's add some content to our new view controller. I'm going to have an image view, which will be the bulk of this view controller. There we go. So something like that. And I'm going to change it to aspect fit. And that's where we'll put the image that the user wants to post. And rather than having just a blank space there, it'd be nice to have a sort of faded image. So I'm going to jump over to Google Images and search for person icon, something like that. Yeah, this is what I'm thinking. So something simple. Okay, free icons PNG. Sounds good to me. So I'm going to download that one. Obviously with the caveat that anything in production, be very careful of the copyright of images that you use. But if you're just building apps for fun, which aren't going to go on the App Store, you don't need to be quite so careful. So I'm going to drag that image in, copy it in, and then sometimes you need to click away and click back to refresh that drop down. There we go. So that will be our image, which appears while we're waiting for them to choose an image. Choosing the image, of course, is what they're going to want to do. So let's now drag in a button. Which says choose an image. And then we'll give them a text field to give them the opportunity to add some text with their image. Give ourselves a bit more room. And then finally, another button to post the image. And I think it would be good to differentiate between those two buttons. Post image is quite a different sort of a thing to just choosing an image. It's a bit more permanent for one. So I'm going to swap the colors round here. So I'm going to make the background color the same color as the text, which remember we can do using the dropper there in colors. So I'm going to choose that blue there for the background and then make the text color white. And then I think I need a little bit more width. There we go. Okay, so just a minor change to the user interface there, but I think that makes a big difference to make it clear that this is a big important button and this one less so. Okay, let's now add our outlets and actions. So control dragging, I'll call that image to post. Then we've got our choose an image, which is an action. We've got message text field, which is an outlet, and post image, which is of course an action. Okay, and there we go. So now let's jump back to Post View Controller and start writing some code. So let's start with the choose an image method. So this is where we're going to jump to the user's photo library to grab an image. So as before, we're going to need a UI navigation controller delegate and a UI image picker controller delegate as well. And then down here, we'll create our image picker, which is a UI image picker controller. Set the delegate to the view controller. We're going to set the source type to be UI image picker controller source type. There it is. And we're going to choose photo library. And we're going to turn off editing. There we go. And then we'll present that view controller. So image picker, or the image picker controller, I should say. It's not actually a view controller. Animated, why not? Completion, we don't care about. Okay, so that will grab the image. When we're done, we want to put the image in the image to post image view there. So let's do that using did finish picking media with info. And then as before, we check for the existence of info and then UI image picker controller original image. And we want to cast that to a UI image. And if that's worked, then we'll update image to post to set the image to our new image. There we go. And either way, we're going to want to close this view controller. So self.dismiss, animated true, completion nil. All right. And of course, just before we run it, we're going to need to add that line to our info.plist, which allows us to access the photo library. There we go. So photo library usage description to allow us to post images for you. There we go. All right, let's check it out. So now we should be able to jump over to our new view controller and get an image from the image library and bring it back into our app and display it for the user. Obviously, we're not actually able to post as yet, but we'll get there. So post, there we go. Choose an image, and then we get the question to access our photos. We allow it and choose one of these photos, and there it is. Wonderful. And notice we get this lovely back button as well, so we don't need to add that ourselves. That's all part of the navigation controller. All right, so we're pretty close. Let's now write the code to post an image. So I'm going to create a variable called post, and this is going to be a PF object, which it won't be quite yet because I haven't imported parse into my new view controller. Now we can use PF object with a class name, and we're going to need a new class name, and I'll call it posts. So this is where we're going to store all our images. And our post is going to have a message attached to it, which is going to be the contents of the message text field. It's going to have a user ID attached to it, which is going to be the current user ID. So pf user.current.object ID. Oops. And it's going to, of course, have the image. Now we're going to get the image from the image to post variable on the page itself. And we can get that by first getting the image data, which we get using UI image PNG representation, and then the image to post not is empty dot image. So that gets the image data from the image to post image, and we can quite safely force unwrap that because we know that there will be an image, and we don't need that question mark there either because we know image to post exists. And then we're going to save it on parse as a parse file. So we're going to create an image file, which is going to be a PF file with a name and some data. So the name is whatever you like. I'm just going to call it image.png. And the data is, of course, image data. And then we can set post image file to be equal to image file. And we will need to force unwrap image data there. And then we can use post.save in background with block. And there's our block. And as usual, we've got our success boolean and our error. So let's check if we've got an error. Then we want to let the user know about it, and we're going to do that through an alert. So I'm actually going to grab the code from viewcontroller.swift to create our alert. So I'll paste that up there, and then we can use self.createAlert with a title of something like could not post image. And I'm just going to put a generic please try again later. You can obviously do more extensive error checking and give them a better error if you'd like. But if it's been successful, we can then use self create alert to let them know about that. So something like image posted, and then there's not really anything else to say. So I'll just say your image has been posted successfully. There we go. And then we want to reset everything back to how it was before. So we'll set the message text field text back to empty, and we'll set the image to post image back to the original one. So UI image named, and then we need to get the name of this image. So I'll just press enter there to select it all, and then Command C, and then just paste it back in there. Okay, so let's try that out. There's a few things I want to add to the final version, but this should work as is. Okay, let's give it a try. So we'll click post, choose an image, moments, let's choose that nice waterfall. What a lovely waterfall. Okay, post image, and you can see up here it's doing something. So we're going to want to disable our app while that's happening, but that's now done. So you can see we've got the message and everything's reset back as it was. That's an interesting behavior. I think we'll need to take a quick look at that once we've checked to see that our post has worked. So over on the browser, you can see we've now got an item called posts. There we go. And if we click on the image file, we do get that image. Wonderful. So the image is posted, we've got the message, we've got the user ID. That's all looking good. So let's first off just check our create alert method. I think what we need to change is change self there to alert, because we want to dismiss specifically the alert. Although self worked previously, because we're in the navigation controller now, self refers to the post view controller, so it actually dismisses that instead. So let's just check, make sure that that's fixed, that particular issue. So we'll post, and I'm actually just going to post the default to save time. That should work. And there we go, much better. Okay, so you might want to do a check to make sure that the user has actually customized that image, and you might want to check that they've entered text in the text field. I'll leave that up to you, but what I will add is our little activity indicator to show that the app is doing something while it's posting. So I'll add that there, and we'll need to define our activity indicator outside. Indicator. It's going to be a UI activity indicator view. And then when we're finished, whether there's an error or not, we want to stop that from animating. So activity indicator dot stop animating, and we'll need a self there as well. And UI application dot shared dot end ignoring interaction events. And I think, yes, I defined it as a let, which is a habit I've got into now. But sometimes you do want to change a variable. So we'll make that a var. Okay, so let's just check that. We should now be able to post an image and we'll see the nice activity indicator showing us that there's something happening and stopping the user from messing anything up while it's uploading. So again, I'm just going to choose the defaults. So post an image there. All right, so we're now able to post an image as a user. The final piece of the puzzle, of course, is to allow users to view images of people that they're following. And that's what we'll do in the next video.